All right, let's get right into it. We're going to be looking at one of the most critical moments in early Islamic history, the succession after the first caliph, Abu Bakr. And look, this wasn't just about picking a new leader. This was about whether a young, fragile community could survive its first real test of unity. And that's really the heart of the matter, isn't it? After the Prophet, Abu Bakr was the glue that held everything together. But now, he's on his deathbed. So the community is facing this huge challenge for the very first time. How do you possibly find a successor without the whole thing just falling apart?
I mean, can you imagine the atmosphere, the tension? The leader who got them through that initial chaos was now dying. The future was a total unknown, and the weight of this single decision was on everyone's shoulders. The stakes just could not have been higher. And the answer they were looking for, as the sources tell us, had to be a leader who was like a solid mountain, someone who could stand firm against all the challenges coming their way. But here's the thing, how was this mountain chosen? It wasn't by one man's decree. No, it was through this really careful, multi-layered process.
So, the very first pillar of this process was consultation, or what's known as shoora. You see, Abu Bakr knew that a leader who is just imposed on people is a leader who will be resisted. But a leader who is chosen, that's a leader people will embrace. Now think about this. Abu Bakr's first move was pretty radical. He didn't just name someone. Instead, he turns the power right back over to the people. He tells them, hey, your affairs are in your hands. His number one priority was making sure the community wouldn't fracture after he was gone. And what happened next was this incredible sort of dance of responsibility. It wasn't just a simple vote. First, he offered the choice to the people, but they, recognizing his wisdom, handed that trust right back, asking him to choose for them. And only then did he kick off his methodical process of private consultation to build a real, genuine consensus. And this is so important to understand. He didn't just get a show of hands in a big crowd. No, he went to his most trusted senior advisors one by one to get their completely honest, unfiltered opinion on one particular candidate, Umar ibn al-Khattab. He wanted to know what they really thought, behind closed doors. And the feedback he got was incredibly strong. Abdurrahman ibn Auf, for example, said that Omar was even better than you think he is. I mean, that's a serious endorsement. Then you have the testimony from Uthman ibn Affan, and his words are so powerful because they speak to Omar's inner character. He's basically saying, you know that strong exterior? Well, what's inside, what he conceals, is even better. There's no one like him. But, it wasn't all just praise. There was a concern. Some people felt that Umar was, well, a bit too harsh, too strict. But Abu Bakr's response to this was just brilliant. He explained that Umar's strictness was actually the perfect balance to his own gentle nature. He argued that once Umar had the full weight of leadership on his shoulders, that harshness would naturally soften into justice. Okay, so you've got this consensus building among the community's leaders. But this decision, it didn't rest on human consultation alone. The second pillar was even more solid, the explicit guidance from the Prophet Muhammad himself, peace be upon him. I mean, this is direct command. The Prophet, knowing his time was short, straight up told his companions to follow two specific men after him, Abu Bakr and Omar. This wasn't some vague hint or cryptic message. It was a crystal clear signpost for the future, a prophetic blueprint for leadership. But wait, there was more. The Prophet also shared this powerful dream he had. He saw himself drawing water from a well, and then Abu Bakr drew a little. And then Umar came, and in Umar's hands, the bucket suddenly became enormous, and he drew water with such incredible strength that everyone, and all their animals, drank until they were full. For the companions hearing this, the meaning was obvious. The overflowing water was a symbol of the immense benefit, the prosperity, and the strength that would come under Umar's leadership. It was a vision that foretold a time of major expansion and great victories. It perfectly validated what the consultations were already pointing to. So let's recap. We've got consultation and we've got direct prophetic guidance. But there was a third, and you could say ultimate pillar of legitimacy. And this one grounded the entire decision in a divine mandate right from the Quran itself. So this verse was revealed to the Prophet. It's talking to a group of Bedouins who had kind of slacked off on their duty before. And it's telling them they're going to be called to fight again. And look at the deal. If you obey this call, you get a great reward. If you turn away, there's punishment.
So this begs the critical question, right? A question the early scholars really dug into. If the verse was revealed to the prophet, but he wasn't going to be the one to make this specific call to fight, then who is this caller that everyone is required to obey?
And here's where the timing becomes everything. The verse promises this reward for obeying a caller who would lead them against a people of great warfare. Well, scholars pointed out that these huge military campaigns against the apostate tribes, the Persians, the Byzantines, all of that happened after the prophet had passed away, which could only mean one thing: the caller had to be his successors. And that's the clincher. Here's the conclusion from the scholar Ibn Hazm. He points out, plain and simple, that the only people who made that specific call to fight were Abu Bakr, Umar, and Uthman. So obeying them was actually fulfilling this verse in the Quran. Their leadership wasn't just legitimate politically. Obeying them was a religious duty.
So with these three massive pillars locked in place, you've got consultation, prophetic guidance, and now divine sanction, the stage was totally set for the final announcement. The community was ready to unify behind its new leader.
Having done all this incredible due diligence, Abu Bakr finally addressed the people directly. He made it super clear that he hadn't chosen a family member or a friend, but the absolute best person for the job. And then he made the definitive public declaration, appointing Omar and telling the people to listen and to obey.
And the response? It was immediate. It was universal. There was no argument, no debate, no dissent. The process had been so thorough, so transparent, and so deeply grounded that the community spoke with a single voice. We will listen and obey. And just like that, unity was secured. So let's just pull this all together, because it's so important. The appointment of Omar wasn't based on just one thing. It was built on this incredibly strong three-pillared foundation. You had the consent of the people through shoora, you had the clear prophetic endorsement from the Sunnah, and it was all anchored in a divine mandate from the Quran. It wasn't just a political choice. It was a process designed for absolute legitimacy, leaving zero room for division.
And that really leaves us with a final thought, doesn't it? In a world that is so often struggling with leadership crises and political division, what can we learn from this model from 1400 years ago? What does it teach us about the principles we might need to choose leaders who can actually unify people and build a legacy that lasts?